A 3-pound stainless steel pistol, a laser that needed 10,000 volts just to turn on, and 6 words that turned a failing gun company into a Hollywood legend. Most people think they know this weapon. They have seen the poster, they have heard the line, they have watched that red dot crawl across a crowded nightclub toward Linda Hamilton's forehead. But nobody told them the full story. And the full story is significantly stranger, significantly more dangerous, and significantly more embarrassing for everyone involved than the movie ever let on. Hi, my name is Chris, and this is Movie Guns. The gun shop scene nobody told you. The truth about Victory Boulevard. Van Nuys, California, 1983. A man walks into a real working gun shop, surveys the merchandise on display behind the counter, and picks up a pistol that weighs nearly 3 pounds empty. The clerk hands it over and delivers a line so clean it sounds scripted. You just touch the trigger, the beam comes on, you put the red dot where you want the bullet to go, and you cannot miss. 6 words come back across the counter, the .45 long slide with laser sighting. That exchange became one of the most replayed weapon moments in the history of science fiction film, and the reason it landed the way it did had almost nothing to do with the script. It had everything to do with the physical object Arnold Schwarzenegger was holding when he said it. The gun was an AMT hardballer long slide, chambered in .45 ACP, manufactured by a small California outfit called Arcadia Machine and Tool out of Irwindale. It had a 7-inch barrel stretched 2 full inches beyond the standard configuration. It weighed 46 ounces loaded, nearly 3 pounds of solid stainless steel sitting in one hand. Your brain registers weight on screen in a way you never consciously track. When an actor handles a heavy object, the slight compensation in the wrist, the adjusted grip, the way the muzzle settles differently between shots, all of it reads as real, even on a couch 20 feet from a television. The hardballer long slide looked like it meant something because it did mean something. Every ounce of that stainless frame told the audience the same thing before a single round was fired. This machine was not carrying a service weapon. It was carrying a statement. What the audience did not know, what almost nobody in that theater in October of 1984 had any way of knowing, was that the company who built that statement piece had a reputation in the firearms industry that ranged from mixed on a good day to catastrophic on a bad one. And the problem was, baked directly into the feature AMT was most proud of. AMT, the company that built a legend on a crumbling foundation, Arcadia Machine and Tool, had one genuinely revolutionary idea. They built the first entirely stainless steel 1911 pattern pistol ever manufactured in America. Every other 1911 on the market at the time used blued carbon steel. Carbon steel rusts. It corrodes if you leave it in a humid environment. If you sweat on it, if you store it wrong, if you look at it incorrectly on a Tuesday. AMT looked at that problem and decided stainless steel was the answer. And stainless steel did solve the rust problem. Completely. You could drop an AMT hardballer in a creek and it would come out looking fine. What AMT did not fully account for was what happens when you slide stainless steel against stainless steel under sustained high pressure. The metal galls. If you have never heard that term, it means the slide rails gouge directly into the frame. Every time the slide cycles, the damage gets incrementally worse. Every round fired carves the grooves a little deeper. One owner described it as rolling a snowball downhill. It starts as a hairline scrape and compounds into a full trench machined right through your frame by the gun's own operation. The hardballer could run perfectly for years, or it could start gouging itself apart on the 3rd magazine. You genuinely did not know which version you had purchased until you found out the hard way. Gunsmiths knew. Dealers knew. The serious collecting community absolutely knew. One forum post that circulated for years put it with the kind of bluntness that only comes from personal experience. The author said he sold a lot of AMT guns and never once saw a single one that did not eventually give fits, and there is something almost cosmically appropriate about the fact that the most indestructible villain in science fiction history was carrying a gun famous for destroying itself from the inside out. James Cameron did not plan that irony, but it is there, and it is perfect. The gun even had a nickname that told you exactly what you were getting into. Hardballer. Named after hardball ammunition, round nose, full metal jacket, GI loads, 230 grain slugs with a smooth profile that the feed ramp geometry could actually handle without choking. Run hollow points through an early hardballer, and you were inviting a jam in the worst possible moment. A gun named after the only ammunition it could reliably feed. That is a sentence that should appear on the warning label, not in a marketing brochure. The 45 ACP. Why this round was always the right choice for a machine. None of that stopped the 45 ACP cartridge itself from being exactly as serious as the movie implied. The round did not come from a laboratory, it came from a war. The Philippine-American War ended with the United States Army deeply unhappy about the stopping power of the .38 long Colt they had been issuing to soldiers. The .38 was not putting people down fast enough in close combat, and that was a problem with consequences measured in American casualties. The Thompson-Lagarde test of 1904 was the Army's formal answer to that problem. Researchers fired multiple calibers into human cadavers and live cattle, which was a significantly grimmer afternoon than most people have at work, and concluded that .45 caliber was the minimum acceptable diameter for decisive stopping power against a human target. John Browning designed the 45 ACP cartridge specifically to answer that requirement. A standard 45 ACP load throws a 230 grain bullet at roughly 830 feet per second. That delivers around 370 foot-pounds of energy. It is a slow, heavy, wide slug, 451 thousandths of an inch in diameter. It does not need to expand to cause serious damage because the wound channel it cuts through tissues is already substantial at full metal jacket. Out of the hardballer's 7-inch barrel, those numbers climbed higher. The extra 2 inches of barrel gave the powder more time to burn completely behind the bullet. More complete combustion means more velocity. More velocity out of a round already designed for maximum stopping power means the long slide was producing ballistics that the standard 5-inch version simply could not match. Think about what Cameron was putting together here. A machine from the future, sent back through time to kill one specific person, selects a slow, heavy, wide round originally designed because something else did not hit hard enough. That is not a coincidence in the script. That is a character choice. The Terminator did not want the fastest bullet available. It wanted the one with the best chance of completing the mission. The 45 ACP is, in that sense, exactly the round a machine would select if the machine had access to ballistic data and zero interest in looking cool while using it. The laser that should not have existed here is where the story stops being about firearms history and starts being about the kind of thing that would never get approved on a modern film set. In 1984, laser sights did not exist the way you know them today. You cannot walk into a gun shop right now and spend $40 on a compact red dot and think you understand what Ed Reynolds was working with 4 decades ago. What existed in 1984 was a tiny company called Laser Products Corporation. Founded in 1979, building helium neon gas laser systems for law enforcement at prices that put them firmly in the Special Forces budget category and nowhere near the civilian market. Their first product, the LPC Model 7, was so large that the battery had to be custom built into an oversized replacement grip on a Colt Trooper revolver. The laser and the gun were one integrated system. You could not remove it. You could not transfer it to another weapon. You bought the whole thing, and that was what you had. The 1984 Summer Olympics came to Los Angeles. The LAPD deployed Remington 870 shotguns, fitted with Laser Products laser sights for anti-terrorism units guarding the games. A Hollywood prop master working on a new science fiction film spotted those shotguns. He made a phone call. The call went to Ed Reynolds, co-founder of Laser Products Corporation. The request was simple. They needed a laser sight for a semi-automatic handgun, a pistol-mounted laser system, something that had never been built anywhere on Earth at that point in time. Reynolds took the job. He took the laser configuration from the Colt Trooper system, designed a custom aluminum housing, modified a standard off-the-shelf scope mount, and assembled the whole unit on an AMT hardballer long slide that the production company Hemdale Film Corporation provided. He built 2 versions, a non-functional dummy for close-ups and the film poster, and a fully operational unit for filming. The operational unit required 10,000 volts to ignite the helium neon laser. Once fired up, it needed a sustained 1,000 volts to maintain beam brightness. Reynolds used a cylindrical power supply about 1.5 inches wide and 4 inches long, 12 volts in one end 10,000 volts out the other. A cable ran from the laser housing down Arnold's arm, hidden under the sleeve of his M65 field jacket, to a battery in his jacket pocket. A second cable ran to a hidden switch on his left hand, so he could activate the beam while the right hand aimed. Reynolds described the finished setup with complete honesty. His words were that it did not look pretty, and then, because this is a 1984 independent film being shot guerrilla style across Los Angeles without permits, nobody appears to have spent significant time asking whether having 10,000 volts of electrical current taped to your lead actor's body was a good idea before they started rolling camera. Reynolds did clarify that the amperage ran in microamps, which meant it probably would not kill anyone. Probably, not definitely, probably. For his work building one of the most recognizable prop weapons in cinema history, Ed Reynolds received a hat, a t-shirt, and a sweatshirt. No royalties, no residuals. A screen credit buried so deep in the end titles that finding it required genuine commitment. The studio made $78 million on a $6.4 million investment, and the man who built the laser that appears on the poster got merchandise. Arnold became the weapon. Schwarzenegger was never supposed to touch that gun. Orion Pictures originally wanted him for Kyle Reese, the human hero chasing the Terminator through 1984 Los Angeles. James Cameron agreed to a lunch meeting with Schwarzenegger, specifically planning to pick a fight so he could go back to the studio and explain that the actor was impossible to work with. What actually happened at that lunch was that Schwarzenegger spent the entire meal talking about how the Terminator should move, behave, and handle weapons. He referenced Yul Brynner's mechanical performance in Westworld. He argued that whoever played the machine needed to train blindfolded, needed to handle every firearm without ever looking down at it, and needed to eliminate every wasted motion from every physical action on screen. He talked about the character the way a director talks about a character they have been thinking about for months. Cameron sat across the table listening and realized he had the wrong man in the wrong role. By the time the check arrived, he had offered Schwarzenegger the Terminator instead of Reese. Arnold initially declined because the character had fewer than 20 lines of dialogue across the entire film. Cameron told him the movie was not about the hero, it was about the Terminator. Arnold accepted. He even lowered his asking price to play the villain, which is a level of commitment to a creative vision that most actors will never match, regardless of how many interviews they give about their process. Then he went to work in a way that the firearms industry was not prepared to take seriously from a former bodybuilder with an Austrian accent. Schwarzenegger trained with weapons every single day for a month before principal photography began. He practiced stripping and reassembling firearms blindfolded until the motions became completely automatic. He spent hours on the range training himself not to blink when the gun fired, which is a deeply unnatural thing to train your nervous system to do, and takes far longer than most people would expect. He drilled individual movements up to 50 times each until they produced zero wasted motion. He trained to shoot with both hands equally. Soldier of Fortune magazine, a publication that built its entire identity on pointing out every way Hollywood got weapons handling wrong, ran a piece in their December 1984 issue that actually praised Schwarzenegger's on-screen performance. They put him on the cover, a magazine that mocked actors professionally as a core editorial position, looked at Arnold handling the hardballer and the laser sight, and decided to put that on the front page instead of complaining about it. That does not happen. The tech noir scene, when the laser hit Linda Hamilton's forehead in real life. The nightclub is called Tech Noir. The Terminator walks in, wearing the leather jacket and the sunglasses, scans the room, locates the target, and raises the hardballer long slide with the laser sight mounted on top. A red dot crosses the crowd. It finds Sarah Connor's head. It settles on her forehead. That red dot is the actual beam from the actual laser. The helium neon system Ed Reynolds assembled from modified scope mounts and a power supply running 10,000 volts through cables taped to Arnold Schwarzenegger's forearm. The beam hitting Linda Hamilton's head in that shot is not a special effect. It is not post-production compositing. It is not a visual trick added in an editing suite 6 months after filming Wrapped. It is a live laser pointed at a human being on a working film set. Cameron shot most of this film without permits, arriving at locations and rolling camera before anyone official could arrive to stop him. He once called Schwarzenegger at 3 in the morning and told him to get into full Terminator costume and meet him at a location to reshoot a scene before sunrise. The production did not own the car Arnold punches through during a chase on Sunset Boulevard. Linda Hamilton later confirmed they simply did not have the vehicle. This is the same production that put a live 10,000-volt laser on set and pointed it at its lead actress. It was 1984. Different standards, significantly different standards. But the result of that decision is one of the most genuinely unsettling images in the film, because your brain knows, somewhere underneath a conscious viewing experience, that the light is real, that the dot is actually there, that nobody added it later. And that knowledge does something to the scene that no amount of visual effects could replicate. It makes it feel like a threat instead of a movie. What happened after the credits rolled? The Terminator opened on October 26, 1984, across 105 theaters and went straight to number 1. It stayed there for 2 weeks. It turned James Cameron from the director of Piranha 2 into the most bankable filmmaker in Hollywood. It turned Arnold Schwarzenegger into something that had not really existed before in American cinema. In 2008, the Library of Congress added it to the National Film Registry. The gun and the company behind it did not share that trajectory. Arcadia Machine and Tool, carrying the galling problem they never fully solved, and the quality control reputation that followed from it, went bankrupt. The company assets sold to IAI, then moved to Galena Industries in South Dakota in 1998, then transferred to Crusader Gun Company in Houston in 2001. Production of the Hardballer ended around 2002. The company that built the most recognizable movie pistol of the 1980s simply ceased to exist and left almost no institutional trace behind. Laser Products Corporation went the other direction entirely. They changed their name. You know them today as Surefire, one of the largest and most respected tactical lighting and weapons accessory companies on the planet. Ed Reynolds, who built a cobbled-together laser system for a hat and a sweatshirt, went on to hold 2 patents for mounting sub-miniature lights on firearms. He has always said he was prouder of those patents than anything connected to the film. The actual screen-used Hardballer, serial number B2807, surfaced at auction with 2 certificates of authenticity. One from the COO of Handprop Room, the company that rented the gun to the production. One signed by Tommy Estridge, the property master on the original film. The original laser had been removed and used on a different production and never returned to the gun. Reynolds still owns both lasers he built. A standard AMT Hardballer long slide, in decent condition, sells for around $1,000 today. Finding one with documented Terminator provenance pushes that number well past $1,500. Collectors have spent years searching for the original NPC 1911 scope mount used on the movie prop, because even that single component has become nearly impossible to locate. Why this gun still owns the screen decades later? Pull back from all of it. The galling problem, the 10,000 volts, the hat and the t-shirt, the bankrupt company, the gorilla permits, the live laser on Linda Hamilton's forehead. Pull back from every accident and compromise and corner cut that went into building that prop weapon for a $6.4 million independent film that nobody was entirely sure would find an audience. What Cameron and Schwarzenegger and Shereko and Reynolds assembled, largely by accident, was a weapon that communicated something no standard service pistol ever could have. The stainless steel finish caught light the way blued steel never does. Into the harsh fluorescent lighting of that gun shop on Victory Boulevard, the Hardballer does not look like a firearm you carry. It looks like a component, like something machined to fit a system rather than held in a hand. That reading was always the point. Not a man carrying a gun, a machine operating a tool. The extended 7-inch barrel extended the visual language even further. Push it toward the camera, and it owns the frame the way the Model 29 owned its frames in Dirty Harry. Everything behind it becomes background. The weapon becomes the subject. And because the laser sight sat on top of that extended barrel, the entire assembly read as technology from somewhere else, not futuristic in a shiny way. Futuristic in a purposeful, mechanical, entirely indifferent way. None of that was fully planned. A production team wrote a shopping list and could not find the right barrel length in stock. A laser company got a phone call they had no reason to expect. An actor went to a lunch meeting thinking he was taking a supporting role and ended up redefining what a villain could be in American film. A gun that destroyed itself from the inside out. A laser powered by enough voltage to light a small building. An actor with cables taped to his arm on a set, with no permits pointing it at his co-star's head. And somehow all of it came together into something that 3 generations of audiences have never entirely shaken. That is not engineering, that is not planning. That is the specific kind of accidental perfection that you cannot manufacture on purpose, no matter how large your budget gets. The Hardballer long slide was a flawed gun built by a company that went bankrupt, carrying a round designed because something else did not hit hard enough, topped with a laser that ran on improvised wiring and paid its inventor in merchandise. And it is still the first image that appears in your head when someone says the word Terminator,